In 1984, a company known as Tekken released Boom Jack. Tekken is still around now, although you probably know them under their more modern name of Tecmo. So who is Boom Jack? Well, he's a hero who can perform high jumps and float in the air. His goal is to collect all red bombs on screen. This isn't as easy as you may think though, as enemies such as birds and mummies are out to get you. Even worse is when those enemies drop to the bottom of the screen, they can morph into things like flying saucers and orbs that float around, making Jack lose a life if he touches them. Collecting the bombs will increase the bonus meter at the top of the screen, which when completely filled up, a circular bouncing P appears. And when collected, it will turn all the enemies into bonus coins for a short period, allowing Jack to collect them. Other similar bonuses are the B bonus, which increases the score multiplier up to 5, and the E extra, which gives an extra life, and the rare S special, which awards a free game. There are 5 different screens in the game, each featuring a distinct scheme of platforms. The 5th has no platforms at all. There is a special bonus for collecting 21 or more lit bombs in a row out of the 24 bombs of each round. The very first port of Boom Jack was actually developed by Sega for the SG-1000 console, the predecessor to the Master System. Taking into consideration of the limitations of the hardware, this port isn't too bad. Unfortunately, it could be better. The controls seem a little fidgety and Jack doesn't seem to jump as high or as smoothly. Still, for an early game on weak hardware, this wasn't bad at all. There never was an official release of Boom Jack for the Atari 8-bit line of computers. However, in 2008, this unofficial release made its way to the masses. At first this port seems extremely unfair, and to be honest, it is a little too difficult. However, with a little perseverance, you'll become accustomed to the way the game plays, and start to appreciate it for the high quality port that it is. Also, I love the Jean-Michel Jarre's Magnetic Field Part 2 that plays in some areas. Boom Jack seems like the kind of game a ZX Spectrum could do well, and as it turns out, it can. This port plays really well and even looks fairly good. Sometimes you can't make out platforms or bombs too clearly due to the nature of the graphics, and the audio is atrocious, but still, not a bad effort at all. I do have a soft spot for the Commodore Plus 4 because it was my first ever computer, but it must be said that many of the games on it were rather crappy ports. Boom Jack is no exception. This version just feels so wrong. The controls are clunky and the collision detection is questionable. There's also a lack of backgrounds. Probably best to avoid this one. I just love the way the official C64 port from Elite loads up. They are so proud about it being official, yet they feature a rip-off of Transx's Living on Video. I wonder how official the use of that music was, eh, Elite? Anyway, I was expecting a little better from the C64 with this game. I feel the graphics could have been defined a little more, and the Sid Chip rendition of Jean-Michel Jarre's Magnetic Fields Part 2 could have also been better. Talking of which, I think they really overused this track during the gameplay. Even though the Amstrad CPC port is based upon the ZX Spectrum code, it's nice to see the developers actually putting some effort into making the CPC use the power of the hardware. What we have here is a fun and playable version of Boom Jack that I'm sure CPC fans would love. Well, we all know how the Amiga generally ends up when it comes to arcade ports. Looking at Boom Jack, we can see that it looks pretty nice. Maybe even better than the arcade game. But then we start to play and instantly notice that the controls are far too floaty and the jack kinda moves too slowly. Whilst playing, I also noticed that the bonus icons don't appear as they should, and that the enemies find themselves on the floor rather quickly. Meaning, before you know it, there are flying projectiles all over the place. Straight away you can tell that the previous shown Amiga version was indeed based upon this ST port, which explains why the Amiga version was so slow. This ST version has all the same issues as the Amiga, apart from it now runs faster. Oh, and the music is much better on the ST. It sounds much more like the arcade original. Coming 8 years after the original arcade game, this Game Boy port really is one of the best out there. It's super responsive, fast and great fun. And best of all, it's portable. The Gameboy Advance is home to 2 unofficial ports of Bomb Jack, neither of which is very good. This first one is rather funny, as it's a port of the Amstrad CPC game, complete with an automated loading sequence. It's interesting, but that's about it. The second port features graphics ripped from the Game Boy, ZX Spectrum and MAME versions of Bomb Jack, which have been adapted using Deluxe Paint 2 and DIV Game Studio graphic editor. This version looks nice but has broken controls. Neither of these unofficial ports features sound. Bomb Jack even made its way onto the mobile phone back in the day of Java-based phone games. You now push up to jump, so no buttons to worry about. Jack himself also moves well, just like he did in the arcade game. If you've still got an old phone, you can do a lot worse than this port of Bomb Jack. Give it a try. And finally we reach the end of our Bomb Jack Battle of the Ports with yet another unofficial port. This time for the MSX2. And as they say, leave the best till last. There's not much I can say about this port besides it's pretty much perfect. The team behind this has done an amazing job at recreating the arcade game for the MSX2 computer. That's all there is to say. Best home port, official and unofficial, out there that's not emulated. And let's take a look at all those versions of Bomb Jack running side by side. Which one do you think is the best?